This is the Real Change Wilmington Podcast, episode 83, over 150 years of Champion Bridge and Steelworks, with our guest today, Noah Dell.
This year, we'll fabricate probably 40% more steel than we did last year, and we want to continue growing that, which means we need new customers in new markets, people that don't know who we are currently. And the reality is the name is just constantly a hurdle for us because you can show up number one on the Google search, but if they see Champion Bridge and they're not looking for a bridge, right, they're going to just go on to number two.
What is going on, everyone? This is your host of the Real Change Wilmington Podcast, Dustin Pierce. Real Change is a positive, constructive, and lighthearted source of local news events and resources. On our podcast, we interview leaders of local organizations to help squash rumors and encourage a greater sense of pride in our community. We have a great episode for you today with our guest, Noah Dell, who is the president and owner of Champion Bridge Company, which is now doing business as Champion Steelworks. Noah grew up in Wilmington, met his wife while working at Sam's Meats and Deli, returned to the area after college in Michigan, and then started his own auto detailing business while working part-time at Champion Bridge. Noah's dad was a long-term employee of Champion Bridge and part owner through their employee stock program. Then in 2016, Noah's dad became the sole owner when the other stockholders retired. And that's when Noah saw his entrepreneurial future with Champion. I had a lot of fun listening to Noah talk about Champion's over 150-year history. I also got to learn about the steel supply chain and how it goes from liquid metal to storage to fabrication, which is what Champion does, and then finally to installation. I have a lot of respect for how Champion's ownership had to change over the years to stay in business, and it was interesting all the different types of projects that they're involved with and how they have clients all over the world, including Hawaii and even Thailand. On the podcast, Noah talks about how the steel structure by Kettering Health on Rombach, that's currently being built right now here in Wilmington, is just an example of the kind of projects that they do currently. He also talks about the Cincinnati Open tennis courts, which are across from Kings Island and Mason, as another example of the kind of projects that they do. And while this is their focus, they also still enjoy serving the local walk-up customers and have helped with a lot of projects in Wilmington, like Zydus Parks Pergola, Health Source on Main Street, General Denver's handrail out front, the C4 Awards, Willie's Bike Rack, and even the Sports Science Center at Wilmington College. The last thing I'll say is that after the podcast, Noah gave me a tour of Champion's location on Sugar Tree Street. I got to see their very cool new robot that cuts steel, but I was also encouraged at just how young their workforce is. Champion has been a proud source of local jobs here in Wilmington for over 150 years, and I know that under Noah, that legacy will continue for many more years to come. So with that, let's bring in our guest and get this podcast started. Noah Dell, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're the owner and president of Champion Bridge.
That's right.
And by the time this releases, you'll have announced that it's Champion Steelworks.
That's right. That's the plan. Yeah. We've been Champion Bridge since 1872. I think the first name was technically the Champion Wrought Iron and Bridge Company. Then they formed a partnership shortly thereafter and called it the Champion Bridge and Iron Company. And then again, it changed to Champion Bridge Company. So long history. Always been Champion Bridge or some iteration of it. But the reality is we haven't built bridges for over 50 years, coming up close on 75 years now. We've not done any bridge work at all. We transitioned, really started in the 1930s, but by kind of the 1950s and into the 70s, we were pretty much all onto structural steel fabrication and out of bridge work.
I saw that you guys posted on your social media that you're doing some steel for the new Kettering building.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good example of the kind of work we do now. So if you drive by that Kettering building, kind of in the February, March timeframe, as we're talking, you'll see kind of a big skeleton going up for that structure. And that big skeleton, that structural steel, is the kind of stuff that comes right out of our shop. So all that steel is being processed in our shop now.
Do you install that too, or just ship it out to the contractors who put it together?
Yeah, typically the install is a subcontractor of ours. So we are responsible for it. We are paid to do it, but we hire third-party companies to do it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So before we get too much in the weeds, Champion, let's learn about you a little bit.
Yeah.
So kind of tell us about your upbringing.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, born and raised in Wilmington. My parents have been in the same house just west of town for 50 years now. So definitely deep roots in the community. A lot of family. I think my mom was probably one of the kind of the original Quaker families that came back here way long ago. So very deep roots. Yeah, grew up five siblings, and I said parents are still there, and I currently live about a mile from the original house that we grew up in. So also still local.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How old are you?
36, just turned 36.
That's cool. I was wondering because I think we're the same age.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was our birthday is tomorrow,
Nice.
and I'll be 36 as well.
Nice.
So you're a bit older than me.
Yep. By a couple of weeks.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you have five siblings, and then you have a lot of kids. It look like from your
Yeah.
website.
Yeah. Yep.
How did you meet your wife?
Yeah. So, wife and I met in high school. We were both working at Sam's Meats together. Sam's Meats is also a family business. My uncle and aunt Alan Ronike Sam's started it with their daughter Sherry Collett, and so I was working there in high school, and they hired Jordan, my wife, in high school as well. So I was her manager. She was 16 and I was 18. That's where we met, and yeah. So today we've got six kids. Oldest is almost 13, and the youngest is, I don't know, 22 months or something like that. Almost two. So
you planning on having some more kids?
I think we're done. Yeah, it's
six kids. Okay.
Yep. I think we're done. Right, but no, very very blessed with six kids. Yep, wife gets to stay home with them and enjoys that.
What are some of your guys' hobbies as a family?
Kids always love doing activities, whether it's the Cincinnati Zoo or the Children's Museum or all of those kind of things. But also, we do spend a lot of time kind of at the parks, especially when the weather's nice, whether it's a splash pad or the walking trails, that kind of stuff. That's definitely highlights that we do when the weather's nice, for sure.
Our splash pad at the park is super nice.
Yeah.
Great amenity.
Yep, it is. Yeah, my boys are really looking forward to the new pickleball courts that they just installed right out next to it. So
yeah,
those will be fun to play on this year.
Yeah, definitely. Last question we ask about our guests. What's a defining moment of your life that's helped make you who you are, shape your values and personality?
Yeah. A lot of them kind of defining upbringing stories actually revolve around my sister, Lydia. Lydia has Down syndrome, and definitely a huge blessing to our family. But with that, she's brought challenges to the family, whether it be, her battle with leukemia when she was really little, or open heart surgery, and then later on to when she caught my parents' bedroom on fire.
Wow.
Yeah, she did a good bit of damage to the upstairs, and just having just those kind of events, and having a sister that has those challenges, and just things like, I was the one that called 911 when the house was on fire, and those kind of things that you just can't help but define you. And again, I think it's all been good, all been for the better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely defines us.
Yeah. I had an uncle who was mentally challenged, and I was close with him growing up. We always hung out with my grandparents and him, and I feel like it helps make you a more understanding person. Yeah, I feel like that helped make you more understanding and gentle.
Yeah, for sure. I think my parents always did a good job with Lydia in particular of just treating her like one of the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nothing different. Had high expectations for her, just like the rest of us. And I saw that shape her in a way that was very positive. Today she does well. She still lives with my parents, but she can read, she can write. She volunteers at the hospital. She worked at Sam's Meats for a long time as well. So she's contributing. She, again, brings a smile to everyone's face and is always quick to hug people and all that kind of stuff. And again, I think it came from just her being treated like one of the family, like everybody else. And so you take that to, just, again, an underlying philosophy for everybody I meet, right? You just treat them like they're anybody else, no matter what the circumstances are. So, yeah, I guess a good thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk more about your family, but I thought it might make more sense to kind of go over the history of Champion Bridge and then kind of weave back into how your family purchased the business.
Yeah, sure.
So kind of maybe just as much as you know from the beginning to when your family purchased it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so like I said, Champion Bridge has a long history, but it started by a couple of brothers back in the 1870s, and then it was kind of quickly formed a partnership. And that partnership, had a few stakeholders that they built a lot of bridges, I'll say up until the 1930s. So we still today have bridges that are standing in Florida and Virginia and Kentucky and really all up and down the East Coast, east of the Mississippi. And So it's a very neat and rich history, but the Great Depression, of course, had a big impact on a lot of businesses. So at that time, it was basically all the assets were sold to a group of partners. It was three partners. They kind of bought all the assets out of the Great Depression, and those three partners owned it until the 1950s. And one of the partners bought out the other two, and then brought his son on, and that was the Myers family. So Ralph Myers and Harry Myers. So starting in the 1950s, it became a family-owned business, and the Myers owned it and ran it up into the 1980s. And my dad started in 19...
Can I pause real quick?
Yeah.
So I have your history listed here,
Yep.
and it looks like Ralph J. Myers was the person who kind of urged the company to diversify away from bridges.
Yes. Yep. That's true too. Yep. Ralph Myers was kind of one of the first to just see how heavily the business was engaged in bridges, and kind of encourage everybody to diversify and start working on other things. So again, since he was the one that ended up being the sole owner with his son, that was when they again just continued focusing on other work besides bridges. So that transition happened around that same time as that ownership transition. And again, the Myers family owned it until the 80s. My dad started in 77, I believe, it was when he started in 1977 as a draftsman for the company, right? So putting together drawings back when all the drawings were hand drawn. So started as a draftsman, and was at the company for 47 years before he retired, and continued on. So I guess a little bit more of the history. The Myers family, third generation, was not interested in staying in the business, so they formed an ESOP, an employee stock ownership program. And so at that time, that's when my dad first got shares, was when all the employees got shares. And because the business was small and there were some challenging economic times, they decided it was best for the business to end the ESOP. And so they basically bought the shares back for most of the employees, except for about 5 or 6 employees. And those 5 or 6 basically then became partnership again. And so the business was owned by a small partnership instead of the whole company. And really the way it worked out was, again, that was about in 1990, give or take. And my dad was one that kept shares, and he basically happened to be the youngest of the group. So the buy-sell agreement was that when you retire, the company buys out your shares. So everyone retired. The company bought out their shares until literally my dad was last man standing in 2016. Gail Gerard was the majority owner at that time. Dad was minority owner. And when Gail retired, he and Mom and the business purchased the remaining shares.
That wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
I was going to ask, how did your family have enough money to purchase this business, and what did they do before then? But it just sounds like it was natural flow, how the business was set up as an employee-owned business. Your dad worked there for all those years, had a lot of stakes, and then just kind of fell to him.
Yep. Yeah. When that ownership transition happened, it was right. There were upfront lump sum payments that we were able to make, and then structured the deal such that basically we could pay out the partner over a period of years from kind of profit from the business. So yeah.
So why did the business steer away from bridges? Was it just not needed anymore, or not as there was other markets that were more profitable, more frequent customers?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it was probably a couple things. One, bridges can be tough just because you really only have one client, and that is government and municipality, Department of Transportations, right? So it can be a tough business if that's your only client is the Department of Transportation, because if they have funding or don't have funding, your business can ebb and flow quite a bit with that. The other thing that I think transitioned around those times is kind of small county bridges really started going into more structural concrete type bridges instead of steel bridges. And so kind of the smaller bridge market, I guess, kind of got taken by concrete. And so what was left were the larger steel bridges, and large steel bridges, just we have physical limitations with our shop, being landlocked with property lines and streets and railroads. There's just not a lot of room to get big long pieces. So today a short piece for a bridge would be 80 feet long, and we can't get 80 feet into our building. So I think it was just probably the combination of those two factors. It just, bridges no longer became a fit for our capabilities.
So what does your new markets then look like? What are your main kind of type of clients and projects that you guys do?
Yeah. Yep. So we work for general contractors doing commercial and industrial construction. So we're a subcontractor to those companies. And again, they come to us and They'll usually give us, a set of drawings from an architect and engineer and say, we want to build this job. So give us a price for the steel scope. And so we put together the price. And if we win that project, then we get to go through that process of generating drawings that we can fabricate the pieces off of. And we basically create big erector sets that we then ship out to the site. And I said, once it's on site, we usually have third-party companies that work for us that actually install it. So there's a lot of coordination, again, with the general contractor, with the other trades, whether it be mechanical, concrete, all that kind of stuff. So yes, that's the type of work we do now.
So what issues Kettering is as an example, because they're right here.
Yep.
And then they're using your steel. So they have a general contractor, I'm assuming, that's building that. And then that contractor reached out to you.
Correct.
And then you have subcontractors.
Correct. Yes. Yep. And then we have subcontractors. So in that case, Kettering is working with Danis Construction. They have a very, very good relationship, and we have a very good relationship with Danis. So we get to do a lot of work for Danis, and we've done a lot of work for Kettering. I think we've been shipping steel to the main campus. We ship something there every year. I don't know, for at least the last 10 years. They're always doing some kind of renovations. And we've done several other Kettering jobs too. The Kettering Springfield emergency department that they put together, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago now. We were part of that project. They renovated an old building and added on to it. So we've done a lot with Kettering in general and Danis.
Yep. And your website says that in addition to local markets, you've sent steel to Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Vietnam, Mexico, Thailand.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah. It's, construction is definitely a relationship business. So we've had some relationships with some companies. One was, big part of the history is actually tied closely to a company that's called Armco. And I won't remember exactly what that acronym stands for, but
company.
Yes, the what is now today Cleveland Cliffs in Middletown used to be called AK Steel for a while, and AK Steel was Armco Kawasaki. And so before it was AK Steel, it was Armco Steel. So a very big steel manufacturing business has had a huge impact on Middletown. And if you've ever read like J.D. Vance's Hillbilly Elegy, that the story of Armco is covered a lot in that book, because that had a big impact on that area. But so Armco had a big impact on Champion Bridge as well. So they had a kind of a pre-engineered building side of that business. And anything that they didn't kind of fabricate in their facility, if it was more conventionally framed steel or steel for maybe crane runways or that kind of stuff, they would send it to Champion Bridge. And so we did a lot of work for Armco back in the day. Yeah.
What was your career journey like? Did you just, as soon as you got into the working mode, your parents had already owned Champion Bridge, or did you go to college? What's your career journey?
Yep. Yeah, I did go to college. So after high school, I did post-secondary with Southern State and technically graduated from Clinton Massey. And then I went to Hillsdale College up in Michigan. Because I had post-secondary credits, I was able to graduate in 3 years. But while I was up there for those 3 years, senior year, kind of trying to decide what my career path was going to be, pretty quickly realized that my niche was going to be kind of the entrepreneurial route. Wanted to run a small business and didn't really want to go work for anyone else. So
did your dad own Champion Bridge at that time?
He did not. No, at that time, so that was graduated in 2012. So he did not own it yet. He was minority. Yeah, never really, because he was always a minority owner, it just never really had much thought actually of joining him in the business. But so when I was a senior, I decided rather than try and go find a job, I would just start my own business and see what I could make happen. So something I had done in high school was clean cars for people, detail cars. So I was like, that's a quick, easy business to start. So that's what I decided to do. We graduated in May and started the business right away. We got married to wife in July that same year, and we just made it work. So started an auto detailing business in 2012, and during that time worked a lot of part-time jobs as well, just at Majestic Springs Golf Course, and I had a year where I spent time at Wilmington Christian Academy coaching and teaching there as well, all while trying to get this new business to start. But one of those part-time jobs too was I went over to Champion Bridge and helped Dad with some things in the office. So after doing that for about a year and a half, I kind of saw the fork in the road where either I needed to go full into making the detailing thing work, or I saw the opportunity that I could actually go full-time at Champion Bridge, learn the steel business, and then have that opportunity for Dad to become sole owner, and then for me to become a second generation. So I made the jump in 2014 to go kind of full-time into Champion Bridge. So that's where I've been, going on 13 years now.
Very cool. What were some of the challenges that you had to overcome when you were the leader of the company?
Yeah, I mean, running a small business is certainly has challenges every day. We say there's basically two types of issues you're going to run into. It's going to be a systems issue, or it's going to be a people issue. And honestly, the systems issues are the easy ones to fix. All right, it's definitely the people issues, and so what that looks like, right? We're just always trying to get the right people in the business, in the right seats in the business, and that's just a constant evolving process, right? Because either you need to add seats, and so therefore you're trying to hire and fill needs, which is always a challenge, or sometimes the business grows or changes in ways that that someone no longer becomes a fit for the type of things that you need done. So there's just always challenging things to work through. So that's definitely internal. Obviously external. There's a lot of pressure. Commercial construction in particular is a difficult business to be in because it's and with steel, we're on the critical path. So schedules are everything for these owners and general contractors, and schedules slip and slide. But when it's your turn, you better be there and you better jump high. So there's constant challenges with being able to produce the product on time, correctly, and get it out to the site when it's needed. So yeah, daily challenges with that kind of thing.
Did you have employees at your detailing business?
I had one part-time for a little bit, but no, it was mostly just me. Yep.
Was there any kind of ownership or leadership at Champion Bridge when you started that kind of coached you, or was it just trial by error learning?
Mostly trial by error. Yep. Again, I'm kind of addicted to everything entrepreneur related and small business. So I've read a lot of books and listened to a lot of podcasts, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, in the last 12 years since I kind of made that jump, I've read, probably well over 200, close to 250 books, just kind of on the subject. So it's just constantly learning from those kind of sources.
What are some of your favorite books that stand out that people should read if they want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah. No, it's I generally have to break it down by topic of like, what do you want to know about which topic? But if you're looking for just overall great business books, probably one of the best is called Traction by Gino Wickman. It is just, he has the entrepreneur operating system of how to run a small business. And it's a great methodology. We continue to use it today. And so, yeah, that'd be a good overall business book for sure.
I've heard of that book, but I don't think I've actually read it.
Yeah.
It was like big out one time, like big in the small business space, I feel like.
Yeah. Yep. It still has quite a big following, but it probably 20 or so years ago was roughly when he published it. And yes, I'd say 10 years ago is when I read it for the first time. And it's a popular one.
Do you ever read, I'm sure you have, Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yep. Well, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
E-Myth?
Yes, E-Myth's a great one. I reference that one all the time. Again, with working on the business. And that's a good book too, because, in that book, he talks about there's kind of three roles in every company, right? It's the technician, the people that are doing the work, the managers, the ones making sure the technicians have what they need to get the work done, and then the entrepreneur is that third one. So that's definitely been my journey. Champion Bridge has always been a smaller business that's has effectively been run by technicians, right? Engineers or draftsmen or people that know the world of steel well, and they just run the business. And so I think that's always why it's been a smaller business, because that's been their focus, is just doing a good job of the work itself. But there's not been a lot of emphasis on having kind of a managerial layer or an entrepreneurial focus on continuing to grow the business or change the business. So that's been my journey. I started as a technician, estimating and project managing. And I've been trying to grow the business such that I can elevate myself from being a technician to being a manager, and now being more that entrepreneurial level where I can work on the business instead of in the business, which again is the E-Myth principles.
Do you think it was more like that, more technician run, because of just the setup of being an employee stock owned company? Like, who was the leader during that time? Did they just all kind of get together and decide what they're going to do, or how did that even work? As an organization.
Yeah. No, I think kind of from the 50s up to the 80s, in second generation of the Myers family mostly run it, and I think he did a good job managing the business, but I think it was more of a lifestyle business for him, if I can go back and project, right? Obviously, I didn't know him, but from my understanding, it was a little more of the lifestyle type business where it was profitable enough that he was content to continue running the business as it was. And when it became an ESOP, the president then at that time was a guy that actually came over from that Armco, that company I referenced before, and he was a structural engineer by training, and so he was very much a technical operator. Again, a good man that helped transition Champion Bridge through kind of Armco selling and going out of business and getting into the general contract market that we're in today. So definitely influential, definitely did some entrepreneurial things, but I think again his sweet spot was probably more of being a technician, being a structural engineer.
Do you still have some of the same employees from 2016 when you're 2016, right, when your dad took over the business?
Yeah. I think there's probably 2 or 3 that were there 10 years ago. We have had a huge transition in the last 12 years since I've been there. And again, part of that context was when I started, there were about 15 employees, and the average age, I think, was about 52 to 55 years old, was kind of average age at that time. So me coming in the business, that was a realization that we knew going in, is that just by nature of people retiring, there was going to be a huge transition in the next 10 years. And so that transition happened, right? Everyone retired, a couple of people moved on, but really just a lot of retirements in that time frame. So we had a lot of people that, had 40 years, 30 years, 25 years that all retired in the last 10 years. And so we definitely have a newer workforce and a much younger workforce now. I'd say the average age is probably early 30s now, but and we're up to, I think today we're probably 29 employees, something like that. So so that's also part of the transition.
So you're the old guy now.
Yeah, exactly.
Mid-30s.
Yep. Well, old guys.
Grandpa over there.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's only 2 people that have more seniority than me, which is wild, given that I'm 36 and been there 13 years. But
yeah. I was going to ask how the employees, how receptive they were to you kind of changing the direction or taking over, but it sounds like they just kind of finished their careers doing what they were doing.
Yeah, it was definitely most of that. Obviously I had some of that, who's this young kid coming in that's trying to change things that, had to work through, but all went well. And, we were able to patiently work through a lot of things. And like I said, just kind of let natural transitions take place.
Yeah. I have a question about your proudest accomplishments since being the leader. And I kind of want to break it down into some subcategories. So proudest accomplishments with projects that you've done, and then as the company as a whole.
Sure. Yeah. So, one of probably my favorite project actually that I ever got to manage for a lot of different reasons was actually just very recent. And it was the Cincinnati Open down there in Mason across from Kings Island. If you're familiar with the tennis tournament.
The big tennis. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, they just did a massive renovation to that project. And I think the total budget was like $250 million or something like that. And so we got to supply a lot of the steel that was needed for that transformation. And it was just a really fun project to be on because, one, it was definitely, a big public project, but it was really neat because they had to do a massive amount of work in a very short amount of time, from the end of one tournament to the start of the next one 12 months later, which is a very, very quick construction schedule for all that they did. So it was just really fun to be on a project team where everyone knew the end goal, and it was, all right, the tournament's happening next year no matter what. So everyone worked together to get it done. So it was just a lot of fun to be a part of that project. And so that was definitely a neat one. Yeah.
Do you do any smaller projects, like any Chipotle's or something like way smaller than the tennis thing?
Yep. Yeah, certainly. We certainly have done a lot of small projects. I don't know, we've built probably a half dozen like Buffalo Wild Wings kind of thing. So, just small stores like that. And there's plenty of times where someone just wants a beam or something like that will supply those type of things. So those are some neat projects. Again, I really like doing a lot of the medical stuff as well. We've done several additions for Dayton Children's, for example. They've got a new behavioral health facility that we did a lot of steel for, and the new Ronald McDonald House there at Dayton Children's, we did that as well. So so a lot of neat projects in the healthcare space, like Kettering Health now that we're doing here in Wilmington.
So I don't know the industry.
Yep.
I don't know how many competitors you have, but what sets you apart from your competitors, do you think?
Yeah. The business we're in really is kind of a commodity business, meaning the steel that we ship to a site, kind of the structural engineer on the project and the American Institute for Steel Construction kind of all dictate that the steel look the same, whether it come out of my shop or someone else's shop. So the product itself is definitely like, a commodity, but at the same time, the quality in which you can produce the steel, right, whether it fits when it goes out there or whether you mess things up, does make a difference for the smoothness of the delivery and the installation of it. So we definitely have a very good reputation for quality and doing a good job with that. But the other thing that really I think differentiates us is we focus a lot just on the customer service aspect of it. We try and be as proactive as we can with managing a job, because it's very easy to get behind and then just be reactive to all the problems. And so we really try hard to be as proactive as possible and to bend over backwards as much as we can to help the customer, just help the job to go smoothly and work together to get it done. That's definitely the most enjoyable part, is when the job goes smoothly or when we can overcome those challenges together to get the job done on time and on budget.
Speaking of projects, I should have asked this in the beginning, but how is steel made and what are you doing? Are you like pouring magma over there to make steel? Like, I don't know anything about how steel is made.
Yeah, no, thankfully we're not part of that part of the chain.
Okay.
So there are a lot of steel mills. Really what they do nowadays, probably 95+% of the steel that we use is recycled steel. So, places like Wilmington Iron Metal collect steel and they ship it to these steel mills. And those steel mills will then melt that scrap down to that hot molten steel you're talking about. And when they melt it down into that shapes, then they run it into, again, standard shapes. So whether it's an angle or a channel or a I-beam, those kind of shapes come out of a mill, and those mills have, again, specifications they have to meet for the size and the shapes that are available for structural engineers then to select out of a catalog, basically. So the big steel mills, they run those things. Usually there's these service centers or warehousers, so they will buy the steel from the mill and they'll bring it to their facility and essentially stock it for someone like me. So they get all these, they can literally get an entire barge of steel, off the river and have it there in their warehouse, so that when I call them and say, I need this, this, and this, they can pull it right out of their inventory, put it on a truck, and bring it to my front door. So when we get it, it's usually kind of a stock length piece that is in the shape and meets the specifications that we need, that the engineer specified. And so at that point, we cut it, we punch it, we weld on it, do whatever slicing and dicing we need to do in order to build the components that then can be fit together in the field to fabricate the building or to erect the building.
That's a lot of middleman. So there's like the magma pourers.
Yeah.
There's the people that just house beams in a warehouse. That's like their whole business.
That's their whole business. Yeah.
And then your business is like chopping it up, putting it together.
Yep.
And then someone else installs it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes quite the supply chain to do even something as simple as, build Buffalo Wild Wings. People don't realize just how intricate and involved the supply chain is, and how small disruption can have a big ripple effect.
Interesting.
Yep.
So, proud accomplishments for your company.
Yeah. And obviously, being in business now for 154 years, right, it kind of has to be at the top, right? That's a rare accomplishment for a lot of businesses. So to be able to do that, to weather, if you just think about all the things that it weathered, whether it's the Great Depression or all the world wars, or just the market shifts, like I said, going from bridges to buildings and having key customers that go out of business or get bought and sold and all those things. So just to weather all that stuff is really amazing. And to continue making, again, we've been in the current building since 1893. So to continue, really, before there was electric, basically, right? So you think about all those changes that had to take place to continue repurposing the building and make it work for what we do. Really is a neat accomplishment. So, definitely proud of that history. And then, now the changes we've been able to make in the last 10 years with continuing to grow, and add more people, add more capabilities. We bought a robot about a year and a half ago, that makes a big difference for us as far as our ability to process steel and meet the demands of the customer. So been making a lot of investments, and so definitely proud of being able to do that.
Does the robot have a name?
It's Python. Yeah. It's
Okay.
Lincoln Electric is the company that makes it, and that's what they call it, the Python X. And the reason being, it's basically a torch on the end of a robotic arm. So when you see this robotic arm reach around a beam and cut holes and that kind of thing, it kind of looks like a python or snakehead, running around. So yeah, we call it the python.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So with the name change, who initiated that, and what was the vision other than just you do more than bridges?
Yep.
Are you going to do more stuff now, or is it just like, how did that whole conversation happen?
Yeah. So I've definitely initiated the name change, and it's something obviously we've struggled with a long time because we don't build bridges. All right. So the confusion always is, you tell someone your name and they say, start talking to you about bridges, and you quickly have to say, oh, we don't build bridges, right? But we've always been a small enough business, and we've always had a core group of customers that just know who we are, right? So it's not been an obstacle because people just know that even though our name is Champion Bridge, they know that we can help them with their steel. So because we've had those stable relationships and haven't grown dramatically, it has not been a hindrance. But we want to continue growing the business, and this year we'll fabricate probably 40% more steel than we did last year, and we want to continue growing that, and which means we need new customers and new markets, people that don't know who we are currently. And the reality is the name is just constantly a hurdle for us because you can show up number one on the Google search, but if they see Champion Bridge and they're not looking for a bridge, right, they're going to just go on to number two. That's kind of the reality of it. So by doing the name change, again, it's more for the marketing aspect of just helping people that need structural steel be able to identify that we can help them with those needs. And the name change is, our corporate name is still Champion Bridge Company. We didn't change any of that. So this is a doing business as registration. So we are still Champion Bridge. The history is still intact, and people can still say they work with Champion Bridge, and they can call us Champion Bridge, and we won't be offended at all. And it's certainly good. And you still see people refer to us as Champion Bridge all the time, and that's perfectly fine. But the name change to doing business as really is just to help with those marketing efforts of meeting new customers in new regions and not having any confusion about whether we build bridges or structural steel.
What do you attribute the 40% increase in business last year to?
Yeah, it was adding that the Python that I mentioned, and then also just making some additional changes in the shop to where we can add more employees. So kind of the bottleneck activity is our fabricators, the ones that do the welding and assembly in the shop. And so we've historically run with about 4 people that are fabricating, and we were able to up that to 6 people here this year. And when we get the post-fab building done, which will be here in the next month or so, then we'll be able to add a couple more. So we'll go from 4 fabricators up to 8 fabricators here pretty quickly. So and then we've added support in the office as well to handle that. So it's been definitely a strategic effort to invest and hire people. And that's where the increase comes from.
So I saw you at the maybe city planning, whatever they call it, getting your permits for the new space.
Yeah.
So you have your space on the railroad track, which is the main hub.
Yep.
And then now you have a building across the street next to the Disability Center.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do out of that facility?
Yeah. So we kind of call it the post-fab barn. So when we weld and do all the punching and cutting of the pieces kind of inside the old shop, after that point, we'll take it out of that building and take it over to this new building. And oftentimes the steel will require kind of a shop coat primer before we ship it so that they can paint it in the field and so that it doesn't rust before they get it enclosed. So that's an activity that obviously painting steel requires a lot of dry time and handling time. That's kind of a bottleneck inside the old shop. And it's also been difficult just because the fumes in the old shop and the mess that the paint makes and all that kind of stuff. So made that decision to kind of pull that activity, the shop primer activity, out of the old building and bring it into the new building where there's much better ventilation and heat and space to let the steel dry. So that'll be kind of half the building will be kind of designated to that kind of lay down, that kind of activity. And then the other half will be able to kind of load trucks inside a building with a crane rather than have to fight the snow and unbury steel with forklifts and load trucks and all that kind of stuff. So the other half will be staging it for delivery, loading trucks, keeping storage for bolts and that kind of stuff that all get shipped to the site. So all those activities that happen after the pieces are actually fabricated.
So are there hours of the day when just giant pieces of steel are going across Sugar Tree Street?
Every day, all the time. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
How do you transport it from one side of the street to the other.
Yep. So either we throw it on a trailer and drive the trailer across the street, or we have a forklift. It's called a combi lift, and it's a multi-directional. It can drive sideways. So you put a long piece on it, and then you just drive the forklift across. So we have little hand stop signs. So anytime there's a big piece going across or whatever, someone will go out there and kind of hold up a stop sign and stop traffic a little bit while we cross. So yeah, definitely it's part of the challenges of being in an old building, but the lot across the street has been Champion Bridge's lot for a long time and has been where we stage things for delivery. So yeah, it's a regular thing to transport steel across the street.
I've never seen that happen, so you must hide it really well.
Yep.
These giant steel beams.
Yep.
I know that you guys do the steel for the C4 awards, the little awards they have there. Are there other projects in Wilmington that you guys do that are kind of cool to know about?
Let's think. What else have we done?
I think that you guys made the bike rack for wheelies, maybe?
Yep, we did. Yep, we helped Terry and Josh out with the bike rack for wheelies. The Zydus Park structure that's right there in that area too. We built that structure for the city, and then we've done some other local projects like recently the Health Source here in Wilmington. We built that structure for them. We helped like when General Denver did their renovation. We supplied them with a big long beam for that patio area that they added. Also did some handrail for them out front in front of the General Denver. So a few little projects like that. Always something popping up.
That's pretty fun. Do you do those because they make money, or just because you want to be part of the community and contribute? Because obviously your main business is gigantic projects and customers.
Yep. Yeah, no, definitely more part of being part of the community, right? It's actually been a debate we've had a lot of times, right? We have a lot of people that come in, we call it the over-the-counter business, right? The people that want to come in and just buy some steel, right? Buy some scrap steel or whatever kind of project they're working on. So that's still a regular part of our business today. People coming in all the time, and we've strategically made the decision to continue doing that. Again, not because it's a huge profit center for us by any means. It's really just that community service and involvement, and wanting to be able to serve the community in that way.
I can see that. If most of your customers are outside of the community, it's nice to have customers inside the community, that if it's a small little thing, you get to be a part of the community still.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. And that's something we want to continue being more strategic about, because a big part of our mission is building our community that we're in. So we've been talking about how we can do activities to continue developing the community. So I think we're making plans now of different things that we can do, that we're going to continue being intentional about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
This might get cut, but I'm running for mayor and I want to have a rec center in Wilmington. So we need some steel for that.
Yeah.
At some point we'll come to be a big project and a community project.
I agree. That's a big need. Yep. Yeah, that's Wilmington College actually been another one that we've done a lot of work for. We built the Sports Science Center that's been out there for the last 10 years or so now, and we're in conversations with the contractor about kind of some of the new projects that they've got going on. So we hope that we can kind of give them a good local price and help with those budgets and make those projects come to life for sure.
Yeah. You can just forklift it right over to them down the street.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
So I always ask about rumors, but maybe a better way to say it is just misconceptions that people have of Champion Bridge.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest first one is we don't build bridges, right? There's a lot of local people that still think we build bridges, and like I said, we don't, and we haven't for a long time. So that's definitely the biggest misconception. But other than that, we don't have too many. Before we changed all the windows and siding, we got they thought we were just out of business altogether because the building was pretty run down. So we haven't got that as much since we spruced up the place. So that's been good. I did hear one recently that this was a good one. They said the rumor was that we built the building across the street so that we could do the data center for AWS. That, of course, is a big hot topic right now.
How does that connect at all?
I don't know. We did we did not make this investment decision so that we could do any steel for a data center in Wilmington. That was a strategic decision made completely independent of that.
Okay, I can see the leap, but it just seems like, man,
there
not
would be,
everything is a conspiracy.
Yeah, there would be opportunities opportunity, right? If AWS
Sure.
does come to town, and they'll need a lot of steel. So there would be some potential opportunity for us to help with that, which again is an example of where an economic development activity like that can have ripple effects throughout a community. It definitely could have an impact, but.
Like not just local jobs at Amazon, but local jobs because of the vendors that they need outside of their own facility.
Yep, correct.
What keeps you passionate about what you do?
Yeah, like I said, a big part of the mission of Champion Bridge is to build our community, and growing up in the community, right, it's a popular thing, right, to bash your hometown, right, and talk about the things that it doesn't have or things that are wrong.
No one does that. I never heard that one time in Wilmington. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So I've always wanted to push back on that, and now I feel like that's a big part of the mission that I'm on is with having 6 kids, young kids, right. I want them to be in the community, stay in the community, because I know the value of those deep roots. Like I said, I have deep roots with my family being here for a long time, and a lot of family members in the community, and that has a huge positive impact and creates good social pressure, right, of being a contributing member of that society when you know that society is your family, right. And so I want my kids to be able to also have those deep roots and to want to stay in the community. But the reality is, in order for it to be a community worth staying in, we need to continue investing in the community and growing and fixing legitimate challenges or issues that we have. And so definitely my mission, what I'm passionate about is being a part of that solution of how can we make Wilmington a better place to live, so that we enjoy living here, but as equally important, so that our kids and the future generations enjoy living here as well. So that is really a huge part of it. What keeps me pushing on things.
Yeah. We talked about the sleigh balls earlier who own wheelies, and that's kind of their thing too, is they have a successful business with Ellis Fencing, and then they bought this property to make wheelies and trail house, and their kids work there. So they didn't need to do any of that, but they did because they want to help the community that they live in, their kids are going to grow up in.
Yeah, and it really is that kind of organic entrepreneurship really is what builds a community up, from the ground up, and makes it much more stable and strong, and again, valuable for us to all live here.
What's a quote, a piece of wisdom, or just a philosophy that's helped guide you, and maybe you want to share with other people, or like commonly share with your employees or kids?
Yeah. There's a lot I could choose, but I'll probably give you the one I've been using the most lately, which is just begin with the end in mind. Right. Stephen Covey and his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, probably one that popularized that saying the most. But beginning with the end in mind really does have, it frames things well. You make different decisions, again, if you begin with the end in mind. And if you really stretch out your horizon for what you see as the end, right? If you can even start with your obituary, right? Start with the actual end. And if you make decisions in that kind of frame of mind, then you make different decisions. Whereas if your frame is Friday, right, then you're gonna do things differently. So always encourage people to stretch their horizon with the time frame that they're looking at things, and begin with that end in mind, so that you can make better decisions and have more positive impact.
I feel like that can apply to many things. One thing that I'm going to stretch it to is that I think that people who want to have a good community, and that's their end, maybe need to like think about what they're saying on social media and to other people. It's like, just saying that thing about that person, get the end of having a better community, or is it like slightly destroying our community by talking about each other like that? Even we disagree, Like, what's the end? A better community? So let's be more respectful and maybe watch our mouths or something.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's a good example.
Just one example of what you said.
Yeah, no, it is a good example, right? People open their mouths without thinking about the consequences, right? And and if the goal is a better community, better relationships, loving your neighbors, then you're going to say things differently than if you're just being flippant.
Last question. What is a positive change that you would like to see in Wilmington? And it can be a new business, a new resource, or even a new attitude. It's a positive, real change that you would like to see.
Yeah. I mean, obviously with the attitude, right? I always want to challenge people to, again, be part of the solution. Don't be part of the complaints, right? And so I certainly commend you for that, right? Obviously, that's this real change Wilmington. I know that's what you've been about, is just whatever you can do to help with that. I think that's a perfect example, a great example of you not just complaining about it, you trying to figure out what you can do to actually make some real change. So that's a great example. And I want to challenge everyone to be part of the solution, not part of the problem, just from an attitude standpoint. So that's a good one. And then I'll echo what you said too about, our family loves kind of being at the parks in Wilmington when the weather's nice and being on the trails and all those kind of things. But when it comes to winter activities, there's nothing really available. So a rec center that would have resources that are closer that we could use would be awesome. So let's make that happen.
Let's make it happen. It's been a real challenging winter. I feel like it's like
Yeah.
every weekend I'm like, I'm going to Florida. I can't take it another day. It's so cold.
Yeah, exactly.
And just think of how like our kids are dealing with that too, and it's like
Yep.
our community needs that for sure.
Yep, exactly.
So anything else you want to add to the podcast before we jump off? Anything you could think of that we forgot to say?
No, that's it. Appreciate the time. Appreciate you doing this. And yeah.
Yeah, appreciate you. So how can people best connect with you or Champion Steelworks?
Yeah.
If they need to get in touch.
Yeah. I mean, kind of our main social channels are LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So certainly follow along and on any of those channels. And yeah, you can always find me at work anytime.
Yeah. Just walk on in,
say hi. Yep.
Very cool. Well, thanks for what you do in the community. Thanks for taking the time to be here to share your story.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Appreciate what you do.
Well, that's it for our podcast today. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Dell, president and owner of Champion Bridge Company, which is now doing business as Champion Steelworks. If you have any more questions or ideas for him, please feel free to reach out directly. If he will talk to us dorks, he will certainly talk to you as well, because after all, we are a community of empowered individuals. If you want to get in touch with Real Change Wilmington or share your story, you can contact us on our website, realchangewilmington.com, visit our Facebook and Instagram pages, or grab a free copy of our local newspaper at Kroger, Sam's Meats, and Fiesta Veracruz. We also currently send our free local newspaper direct mail to over 2,500 Wilmington residents each month. So if you want to help us cover our printing cost and advertise your local business event or job posting, please email us at advertise@realchangewilmington.com. With that, I'm your host, Dustin Pierce. Keep it real, Wilmington.